This is a ModRetro Chromatic. And now, if you don't know what this is a brand new Game Boy Color that you can buy in the year 2026 that actually plays physical Game Boy game cartridges. It is around $200 for this console, and it is advertised as the ultimate Game Boy. Not just the ultimate Game Boy, but the last Game Boy that you would ever need. And so I just finally got mine in the mail, and I've been playing around with it, and I just want to go over some of my first impressions with this device and the experience I had, and let you know if I think that this device is worth it. But first, we have to start with the big disclaimer of this company. Now, if you start looking and doing your own research online about this, you'll find out that there's a lot of people who do not want to support ModRetro. That's because their CEO actually has another company, which is a weapons dealer, a military weapons dealer. And this association makes some people feel uncomfortable buying this product, thinking that it's going to support that CEO. And I just want to make a disclaimer that I'm not affiliated with them by any means. This is not sponsored. Everything here is my own opinions. And my take on this situation is I'm someone who can just personally separate the art from an artist, right? And I am in the market for a brand new Game Boy in 2026 that plays physical cartridges. That's what I want. That's what this offers. There's a company, Analog. They make a similar product with Analog Pocket. I may have actually picked that one up, but it's out of stock. This is in stock. I was able to get it. And so, yeah, I'm someone who can separate the art from the artist. And again, this is the CEO who has the affiliation with the military weapons dealer. And I think there's just another side to the story. If you want to get into that, again, I separate the art from the artist. Like, this is what I want. This product is what I wanted. But just another part of my take is that's like, it's not just the CEO. What about like the employees? They have nothing to do with the weapons dealer or the indie developers that are making brand new Game Boy games for this console, which we'll get into later. These people who are working, they have nothing to do with the weapons dealers, and they have their own families, and their livelihoods are like, this is their work, and so you're kind of supporting them also. But again, I don't even get into that like one way or the other. I separate the art from the artist, and this is a brand new Game Boy, and that's what I'm looking for, and so that's what I got. So there's a couple of reasons why I'm actually in the market for such a device. And one of the first ones is I'm actually looking into this for my kids. They're getting to the age where, they're able to get their first video game console. And I have a bunch of Switch games ready for them, like some Monster Truck video games and Hot Wheel video games, Bluey. But the Switch has so many buttons on it, and maybe it might be a bit overstimulating for their first gaming console. I grew up with a Game Boy, just a D-pad and 2 buttons, and they'll get to the Switch. Maybe we can wait another year, and this would be a good time for a system just like this. It might seem a little crazy because, why does a little kid, a little toddler need a $200 Game Boy? But, $200 is the cheapest you can get a Switch for also anyway. But why would they need a $200 Game Boy? Well, I'm looking at the used market, and a Game Boy Color, I was looking at a blue Game Boy Color for my son. It's $99 for just that, and it doesn't have a backlight. So this is one with the backlight, and if you're like me and you grew up with the Game Boy, like the backlight is just like, it was horrible that there was no backlight. So it's like an extra like really $55 for the backlight. And why do I say $55? Because this is $200, but it does come bundled with Tetris, which, a little puzzle game like Tetris, like this could be useful for a little kid too. Like that's not a not offensive game, a little puzzler, and honestly it can maybe make them smarter too. So when you factor in the game, most of the games that ModRetro makes, because they do make brand new games, like they're publishing brand new Game Boy cartridges that you can buy in 2026. Tetris comes bundled with every single one. And so if you consider this to be like a $45 value, that brings the price of this, which you have to pay $200 for this, just the handheld if that's what you want. But it does bring it down to, it's basically like $155. So it'd be $100 for basically a Game Boy Color, but then $55 for the backlight. And then, yeah, Tetris, that'd be a good game for a kid, right? And like, it's a timeless classic. So that's cool too. But I specifically want a Game Boy Color for my kids because they're at that age. There's a couple of games that is available on the Game Boy Color. There's a couple of Elmo Sesame Street games. He reads a lot of Elmo books, and he was really excited when he saw Elmo on the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. So, those are early childhood games like ABC's 1, 2, 3. So I think that'd be a good time to, pick some of those up. And I think this would be like a fun birthday present. Also, for TV, we try to stay away from the Coco Melon and all that overly stimulated stuff. So we use PBS Kids and we throw on Arthur, but there's no brand new Arthur games for like Nintendo Switch or anything like that. But there is an Arthur game for Game Boy Color. So I just thought this will make a really fun present, like a Game Boy with a couple Elmo games and art there, and like it's a very small window where that could be useful. But then he has a Game Boy, for the rest of his life, right? And maybe he'll get dinged or whatever. Maybe he loses interest in it, then I'll keep it as a backup. But they'll come around. The Game Boy's a timeless classic. I had before scouted out like emulation handhelds, just like in terms of parenting's expensive. Like, oh, wouldn't that be sweet? Like, just to have a Game Boy that you can just dump like all the games on, and just then they can just sit there and play and have access to all these things, kind of like Netflix and all that, right? But it's just like I've been using this in the emulator stuff, and it's like for such like a young kid, like I don't know, these cheap Chinese handhelds with like the battery, like I don't really trust that. And with the emulation and the saving, I think it'd be overly confusing. And he already has toys where it's just like he has like projector with cartridges, and he's used to changing out cartridges and cards and stuff like that for like different content. And so yeah, I think just having like a couple of Game Boy games, that could be a good gift, and he'll really know how to switch that out. I think that'd be a good thing. I mean, again, so many of us grew up on the Game Boy, so I think having a physical Game Boy would just be a better gift all around. But now why I want one for myself is because I've been getting the bug. I've been wanting to go and buy some more retro games physically. I've been going to game stores for the past 10 years, and I haven't been buying anything. Kind of just like a nostalgia thing. Because I used to go retro game hunting, but I kind of stopped for a while. Just, life gets at you. And I finally have a place where it's like, I made room, stuff's organized. I have spots on my shelves where, like, if I buy used games, I can put them on the shelf. I have a space for them. And I kind of just want to buy some Game Boy games. I've been really getting into handheld gaming lately, but just like, I don't know, stuff with Nintendo Switch 2, like, yeah, you can play it handheld, but it doesn't support the play session of handheld gaming, just like quick and dirty handheld gaming. And the Game Boy was perfect for that. It perfected it. And so, yeah, I just want to play a little more Game Boy, and I want to be able to go into a retro game shop and pick up a brand new quote brand new. I just want to go shopping for used games. That's part of the hobby. That's part of the fun. And yeah, I could play whatever I want on an emulation handheld. I probably will get an EverDrive for the Game Boy, so that way I can continue to maintain access, because I really like this form factor for Game Boy and Game Boy Color. This form factor, the shell factor, Game Boy SP. I want to play Game Boy Advance games on this thing, and only Game Boy Advance things on this. But for Game Boy Color, I want that nostalgia. I want that feeling. And so yeah, I'll probably get an EverDrive. That way I have access to whatever I need in emergency situations. But like, this is my take on emulation. Yeah, I can play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on this thing already, and I have access to all those. I didn't need an actual Game Boy, but you know what? I feel like emulation is a lot like light beer to me, right? Like a natty light. Yeah, you can drink it and it'll get you drunk. Like this, it's cheap. I can play it. It works. It's serviceable. Why would I need anything else? The goal is just to get drunk, right? But I feel like as time goes on, you eventually want some more flavor in your beer, right? And so you're willing to pay extra money for a craft beer. And either way, it gets you more drunk, but you're spending more money, but you're getting more of an experience. And that's how I feel about physical games. I actually went to a retro game store the other week while my ModRetro Chromatic was on order and shipping in the mail. I didn't have it yet, but I was like, oh, I want to get a Game Boy game for it. And I picked up a couple other games. I didn't want to spend like more than $50 or something, but like, this was the first time I've been in a store and like actually bought something in a long time. And they had 2 Game Boy Color games like in the case, like where they kept like, bigger titles or whatever. And I decided to pick up Donkey Kong Country. I was like, you know what? It was this or Mario Golf, and Mario Golf's probably the better game. That was like $32. This was $25, and like I didn't want to like spend too much. And I was like, you know what? I'm just like feeling a demake platformer. So yeah, I decided to pick this up, and it's like, yeah, I've always been able to play Donkey Kong Country, like on this handheld over here. I've always been able to play it, but you get that choice paralysis when it comes to like, emulation. You have so much there at once, and you can play anything you want. You can basically have like, nothing looks good. But now I have a very small Game Boy collection, and it's like, now this is here. I'm like, ooh, like this is immediately up at the top of the list. I'm like, I want to play that. I can sit here, look at it, hold it, and yeah, this makes me want to play Donkey Kong Country instead of just like the text Donkey Kong Country. So yeah, I think just that makes, physical games and just gaming in general more fun. Like I said, it's like, yeah, I can emulate, it gets the job done like light beer, but sometimes you want that craft experience, and that's why I wanted a physical Game Boy in 2026. And if you want to see the full video of more of my collecting tips for 2026, I'll leave a link to that video in a card at the end of this video. And if you've been enjoying the content so far, please do consider hitting like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments if you want to hear more about my retro game pickups that I've been making over the past couple of months. I do plan on making that video, but yeah, let me know if I should make it sooner rather than later. Alright, so let's talk a little more about the actual Chromatic. So first, as I mentioned, the Chromatic is $200, but they also sell physical games. And the one I chose was Buck and the Cursed Cartridge, and it's really cool to be able to buy a brand new Game Boy game in 2026. The packaging is really cool. It's really small and slick, and there's a bunch of indie games and also some reprints. Like they have Rayman and Croc and like some Atari 90s collection games. So I do want to pick up some more of their games, to be quite honest, but I went with this one because it was like a GameStop video game, and remember the whole like GameStop like meme stocks going on. Just like I thought that was funny. I didn't even know they had this character. So yeah, it just like was interesting me, like a GameStop video game. One thing I noticed is somehow ModRetro in their releases, they're somehow able to slip by the ESRB. Like there's no rating for this game. Found that quite interesting. But yeah, if you look on their store, on their website, they have a bunch of games, right? And so if you buy a game, they have a bundle. And so you can get the ModRetro Chromatic. This is $200, and the games are around like $45 each. They have a bundle where you can also throw in a pair of their $50 headphones. And pretty much, I did not want these headphones. Okay, I'll be quite honest. They look like garbage. I think these headphones are probably trash. But in the bundle, if it makes you feel stupid not getting it, because you get 10% off if you throw this in, and you basically just get these for $5, and they look like $5 headphones. I have not used them yet. I don't know if I will use them. I never used headphones when I played Game Boy as a kid. I'm not really trying to be gaslit into using them now. That's why I got black, not to match the yellow Game Boy console that I ended up getting, because they have colors that match the consoles as well. I got black so that way maybe I can use them as something else, or maybe just give them to my kids or something. Maybe I'll try them. I don't think it's going to be worth a whole video or something, let you know, are these actually good headphones? I'm telling you, they don't look like they're good headphones to me. As someone who's big into audio, it's not something I would have chosen to get. But the deal, like if you're going to buy a game, it's so stupid not to get them because they're it's $5. And so it's like, whatever, I got the headphones. But yeah, that makes me want to get into the packaging of this and the branding. So, you know, the other company that's kind of making these modern retro consoles, I hate that, by the way, modern retro, because, you know, they named themselves ModRetro, which is great. That's what it is. But modern retro is kind of this new thing that's going on with like ModRetro and Analog being another very similar company. Analog, their branding is very Apple-like, very clean and all that. Now, I'm not saying every tech company should do that, but this looks like it should be sold in like a head shop or something. And this branding, me personally, maybe some people like this, but me personally, I don't relate this with Game Boy. I think it looks silly. This isn't for me. All right, all this like tattoos and stuff all over this. Like I don't know, this just isn't me. And I don't know. Again, I can look past that. Because it doesn't really have too much to do with the actual console itself, even though, like, again, just like some silly like decisions in my mind, like, I don't like this decal right here. I think it looks pretty dumb. I think this, if I hold it like this and just show you that, it looks just like a Game Boy. Yeah, I don't know why they added these stripes here. It's a really questionable decision for me, but I don't really see it too much when I'm playing it. My hand's covering it, so it's kind of whatever. It's not too much to lose sleep over, but yeah, you know, they're pretty much going for a complete opposite of Analog. Analog being that clean Apple branding. This like kind of like hipster like branding. I don't know. I don't really vibe with it, but again, it's just a Game Boy that plays games, so I'm not really gonna knock too many points on it. It's just like when I see this, it doesn't make me scream like, oh, I need to get that, I need to buy that. They do have quite a variety of colors to choose from. I chose their Volt Yellow simply because I had a yellow Game Boy Color when I was a kid, and since this is pretty much a Game Boy Color, I wanted to match the experience. This is nostalgic for me, but they have many other colors. I'm probably gonna get blue for my son, pink for my daughter, And yeah, it's yellow. Like I really vibe with it when I'm playing with it. It was just like it felt wrong for me to get any other color than yellow, just because I had a yellow Game Boy Color when I was a kid. Had I not, I don't know what color I would get. But they also sell like a mod kit where you can actually like buy other buttons and stuff and change them out and really customize it if that's what you want. I'm not huge into that. I'm very vanilla when it comes to my tech. I don't really like to modify it that much, but they have that option too for additional like color combinations if that's what you're about. But my first issue with this is it's a 200. I spent $200 on this thing, right? Like 250 when you count in the whole bundle. But let's say this is $200. Even if it's $150, we subtract Tetris. It's probably you probably can't see it from the camera, but there's a little scuff right there. Let's see if I can get into focus. There's a little black like ding scuff thing. I was picking at it with my nail. I was showing my wife. Like we were picking at it. I'm afraid to pick at it more. I don't know if it's like a little dirty that's sitting on there. But it was the first thing I noticed when I took this out of the box, and I was a little disappointed. You spent $200 on a brand new handheld, and it's like damaged out of the box. It's not that bad where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna return it and exchange it, or like give support a hard time and try to get money back. It's really not that bad, but it does kind of make me think that this thing's going to show wear and tear over time. Like it's not going to be as durable as their marketing shows out to be. I mean, you can get a different screens, pay an extra $100 for like a sapphire screen. I didn't do that. Like it might get dinged. Hopefully they continue to sell this if I really need another one. But yeah, I saw stuff on like Reddit where it's like, I think people didn't like this and they wanted to have they asked like what the color code was of the paint so they can paint over it. And I'm sure if I message support they could maybe give me like a color code so I can paint over this, but again, it's not like that big of a deal. I'm not going to complain that much about it, but I am going to knock points over their ultimate Game Boy advertisement. It's the perfect Game Boy when it's like it shows up and it's dinged like right out of the box. He's super noticeable when I like first take out. Again, I don't really know if it's showing up on camera as like the yellow. I guess it's really reflecting off my light right there. But yeah, so I gotta knock points off for that one. And so my second issue with my initial experience is you can actually plug this Chromatic into your computer and you can download. There's like a little utility that you can download from their website, and it does firmware updates, but also you can update the cartridges of the games. And so, like very coincidentally, as I was like waiting for it to show up in the mail, I saw a post on Reddit for this Buck game from the developer. Like I said, these are like indie games pretty much, and the developer said that he released an update, version 1.1, with more features like a nightmare mode and bug fixes. And I was like, oh, cool. It's like I haven't played the game yet. I may as well get those bug fixes. I never even considered that you could update these Game Boy games. Had I not seen that post, I never would have noticed this. But yeah, I plugged this in and like first thing I did, like before I played it, I went and tried to update it, and it just kept giving this message that like it doesn't recognize a ModRetro cartridge. Like, please insert a ModRetro cartridge. Like, oops, didn't recognize it. And like kept crashing when it was trying to update the game. And I tested it out and I tried updating the Tetris that it came with, and it worked no problem. And so I messaged the support. At first I messaged the developer on that Reddit thread, and he wasn't sure. So I messaged support, and it said to like get the log files, and it showed you where to get the log files. Very easy to do. I'm a developer myself, so like that was like, I say it's easy, but maybe that's not easy for everybody. But you just copy in like a file path onto your computer, and it shows you the log files. I put that into my ticket, and they just responded like in like 24 hours, and they're like, yeah, like we'll send you a new cartridge. And so maybe there's something in the log files that they realized like that there was something wrong with the cartridge. So they did. They sent me a brand new one for free. So that's how I ended up with 2 copies of Buck. It's because it didn't work with the update. And like in my message, I said like it played. Like I started the game up. I did a new file, did a couple levels, quick early impressions. It's like exactly what I wanted. I can jump, I could shoot. They're very short, quick levels, exactly what I want out of like a Game Boy game. But the dialogue I thought was like kind of cringe. I'm not a big fan of the humor of the game. I think it's kind of like a little over the top, too much. Maybe that's what they were supposed to do. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely play more, and I wanted to play more of the game, but I had to wait. But moral of the story is it was fantastic customer service. So I got a ding on the Game Boy. The Game Boy cartridge, like it really didn't work in terms of the update. It was broken. I never would have known. I'm lucky that I found out very early on that it was like a broken cartridge. But really, like, it wasn't very hard at all for them to send me a brand new copy of the game. And so there's a lot to say about good customer service. And yeah, like, it was pretty awesome. Like, I wasn't really planning on playing Tetris. Like, I never would have bought this if it was sold separate. It was I like Tetris. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great game, but it's just like it's not really what I wanted to play right now. I wouldn't have, paid extra to just to buy this game, but I'm glad I had it because I didn't want to start Buck until I got, the updated version, and I didn't know if like that was gonna them sending me a new cartridge was gonna work. I wanted to make what if there was something wrong with the console itself? That would have been nice. Send me an extra console and get rid of that ding. But I was playing some Tetris for the week as I waited for the new copy, and it was a good version of Tetris. I actually am a big fan. Like, there's like 4 game modes, and each one has like a modern and retro version. I switched it to retro because I've been playing, the past over years whenever there's a new iteration of Tetris. I got pretty used to like the modern rules where you can hold pieces, but I like playing the retro one. But what I liked about this is each version has its own leaderboards, and like on certain modes where you can start like the level of, the speed level, they each have their own leaderboard. And I think, and you can also make multiple users. So, later when like the rest of my family has their own Game Boys and we have like multiple versions of Tetris, I think this would be a lot of fun where this cartridge should just be sitting around like on the living room, like coffee table or something. And you can pop it in and just try to beat like people's high scores on like the various leaderboards and just start, maybe my son has the top leaderboard and I just grab it. He's playing a different game and he doesn't know what I'm doing on my Game Boy. And I just start, kicking his butt on the leaderboards and then, pass the cartridge around throughout the family. And that could be a really fun thing to do. So I really appreciate that when it comes to the leaderboards and like the multiple users on the same cartridge, and that's where this game is going to shine in the future. But yeah, there's a very serviceable version of Tetris, and I'm glad I have it. So I wouldn't have played it honestly, and it wouldn't have made it into a video. I wouldn't have been given impressions on a Tetris if it wasn't for Buck playing. So maybe they cursed my cartridge on purpose. Who knows? One other thing I did to kill some time while I was waiting that week for Buck and the Cursed Cartridge, my replacement cartridge, to come in, which did fix the issue, by the way. I wanted to check out my copy of Pokemon Red. This is my original copy that I got when I was a kid, and I still have it. And I see so many posts online about like people's Game Boy cartridges batteries dead and how to change it. And I've been looking into that a little bit. Like, I'm probably gonna have to change the battery on this eventually. And I'm pretty sure if the battery's dead, that your save would be wiped. So I popped it in. I just wanted to see. I'm like, is my Charizard still alive? Is he still there? And I popped it in, and the game, it said load the game, and I did. And it paused the menu, and my name's Ash. I have like 40 hours in the game. I'm like, oh man, this is my game. I'm like, I wonder what level my Charizard is. And I went in and looked, and like my heart dropped, man. I couldn't believe it. Dude, I had Venusaur. Like, everything I knew was a lie. It's like my childhood, like, what is going on? Like, I have a Venusaur? I swore I had a Charizard. I started with Charmander. What do you mean I started a Bulbasaur? This isn't real. This isn't happening right now. I couldn't believe it. I must be confusing it with, like, Fire Red and Leaf Green or something back in the day. Because, yeah, like, I guess I'm old. I grew up. This was my first Pokemon game. I was there when it all started. And I just couldn't believe it, man. And yeah, I can't. I'm glad the battery still works though. I don't know how much longer it'll be alive, but that was a wild experience. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, so overall, just for some final thoughts. For first impressions, I'm very happy with this thing. Yeah, start off kind of rocky with the ding, it being scuffed out of the box and the cartridge broken. So they're a small company, right? And like they're trying to like market it as a big thing, but small companies will have small company problems. But good customer service goes a long way, and it was very easy, very quick communication. Like, it wasn't even a back and forth. I just sent my issue, sent the log file. They sent me a brand new copy of the game. Pretty much no questions asked after that, and great. And it resolved the issue. So great customer service goes a long way. But obviously they have some issues with inventory and like keeping lot tracking it of like which ones were infected cartridges or not. So yeah, I'm still very happy with that experience overall. And I just wanted a brand new Game Boy that wasn't used and like grimy with like, little kid Dorito hands all over it that felt wear and tear. I just wanted a brand new Game Boy, right? And that's what this is. It has other features, like you can like plug it into the computer and like and stream off of it. But I don't care that much about those extra features, so I'm not gonna like knock or add or knock points on that. Maybe some other reviews would have that. But the build quality is great. I like the weight on it. It has this big base on the bottom, so you can put it on the table and stand it up very easy without feeling it knocked over. It's a great feeling Game Boy. And the best part to me really is the release of physical games on this thing. Analog, they don't have their own publishing of physical games. ModRetro, they're supporting indie games, so there's like, the indie game scene is being supported here. They have the reprints like Rayman and Croc. I love seeing the reprints of old titles on physical format. I mean, the dream here has to be, right? Like, when you see this, you have to think that's like, oh man, wouldn't it be awesome if like Pokemon got an official reprint cartridge? Like, these guys, if they could strike that deal with Nintendo, that licensing deal, you'd have Pokemon Red and Blue being sold for like $80 to $100, right? If like, these indie games and like Rayman are $45 each. Pokemon, like, that'd probably be like $80, right, for a physical reprint cartridge, but they would sell a lot of these, and like, that would be insane. The Pokemon community is crazy. They would sell so many. I don't know if they can handle that sales volume or that quality control quite yet, but man, I'm rooting for them. And like, I would love to see more physical games, a resurgence of physical games, like, this type of format. This is really what I'm supporting right here. And yeah, I might pick up an M64. Like, they're going to be making one of these basically for the Nintendo 64 with brand new games. So again, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I have an Analog 3D, but like, this reprinting of old games and just supplying physical cartridges, brand new physical cartridges on the scene, I think is awesome. And I definitely want to support that, especially in a day where so much is going all digital and game key cards and game key discs. I think this is awesome. And this is the best part about the whole thing for me. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you have a ModRetro Chromatic? What do you think about it? Or is this the first time you're hearing about it? Let me know that too. I'd love to just spread the word. And if you like the video, please hit like. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later. Oh yeah, I forgot. These games come with charms, and I don't get it. I don't get the appeal of it. Drop the price by $5 and ditch the charm. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb. Like, let's get cheaper games. We don't need the $45 price tag. Get rid of the charms. I don't want them.